Hey, good Wednesday evening, everyone. Weather for Weather Geeks time. Still, the adrenaline is pumping from the Indians' victory this evening. Heading off to the World Series for the first time since 1997. I was in college in 1997, and I distinctly remember the bitter disappointment of losing in Game 7 of that World Series. Let's hope we don't have a repeat of that this year. It's the year of Cleveland. It's not going to happen this year. We're going to have I am confident a great World Series and following the footsteps of the world champion Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, let's talk weather. Starting out this evening, not in our area, but with this monster thunderstorm south of Cincinnati down into Kentucky, and there's a tornado warning on this down into northern parts of Kentucky, in addition to severe thunderstorm warnings and flood advisories. What a mess down here. This storm has been producing rotation and has had a history of producing hail. Look at the hail tracks here over the last 6 hours. Monster hail in southern Indiana, then tracking into northern Kentucky over the last several hours. Baseball-size hail. A little unusual, in fact, very unusual for mid-October, but of course the weather pattern lately has been an unusual one. We're not going to have severe weather concerns like that here. We do have rain tracking into western parts of Ohio right now, and this is what's going to head our way as we head through the overnight hours. So let's track this with our high-resolution FUTURECAST starting at 9 this evening. Rain getting to about I-71 at 9 o'clock, and then moving into the Mahoning Valley as we head towards midnight and into the overnight hours. Now, there could be a rumble of thunder or two with this during the wee hours of Thursday morning. Don't be surprised if you wake up to a clap of thunder in a couple of spots, but mostly moderate rain for the overnight. Now, tomorrow's forecast coming into clearer focus, and we started talking about this yesterday, how there might be a dry slot that works in. And, this is kind of like, if this were a snowstorm, boy, would we be gnashing our teeth over this. Because this dry slot, trying to figure out where it's going to be, would be the difference between a whole lot of snow and not very much. Well, it's not winter, so we're talking about rain. And I do think this dry slot is going to work in tomorrow morning and give us mostly dry weather for at least a handful of hours. So tomorrow is not a washout. I think everyone's going to get wet at some point tomorrow during the 24-hour period, starting midnight tonight, ending midnight tomorrow night. But there's going to be a period here, mid-morning into maybe even mid-afternoon, when not much will happen. So here's how I've broken it down hour by hour, and I might have to adjust this even farther with perhaps lowering the rain chances even more, 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. This might have to go down to the 30 to 40% range as early as 8 or 9 o'clock. And then, again, rain chances below 50%, maybe even 20 to 30% through lunchtime into the early afternoon. But I do think the rain chances will indeed increase again as we head towards the evening. So stay tuned to 21 News at 11 tonight. I'll have updates on this graphic and our overall forecast for your Thursday. Now, the Storm Prediction Center does have parts of eastern Ohio in the marginal or low risk of severe weather during the day on Thursday. Notice that low risk in the darker green comes up to about Route 30. I think this is reasonable. As this dry slot works in, the air mass will become a little more unstable. It's going to be warmer. It's going to be more humid the farther south and east away from Youngstown you are. And so there is a chance that a couple of thunderstorms try to pop in that warm sector, in that dry slot, if you will, and some of them could be a little bit feisty. So this is something we'll be keeping an eye on tomorrow afternoon, particularly low-end chance of severe weather in the southern part of our viewing area. So again, here's our dry slot midday tomorrow. Rain northwest Ohio, but even some sunshine trying to work up towards the panhandle of West Virginia right around lunchtime on our Thursday. But then again, the rain chances increase again as we head towards dinner time, and then it's just going to be a wet Thursday night and early Friday morning. Here's Daybreak Friday. Still some rain around. Now, the big question for high school football Friday evening is, what's it going to do? And I think the steady rain is out of here, as the model shows here, by Friday evening. But even though you don't see much on the model here, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a couple of showers or some drizzle, general murkiness working into northeast Ohio and western PA Friday evening. So if you're heading off to a high school football game Friday evening, pack the poncho because it might try to rain just a little bit, even though the wetter part of Friday will be earlier in the day. Notice our ISO bars getting pretty tightly packed here. This is going to be a chilly north to northwest wind on Friday. Temperatures no better than the lower 50s Friday afternoon for high school football Friday evening. It'll be falling through the 40s, and with the wind, it'll feel like upper 30s. So even if it doesn't rain at your game, it's going to be awfully chilly. Here's a look at Saturday. Speaking of chilly, with clouds and very limited amounts of sun and a continued gusty breeze, Temperatures will struggle to get out of the 40s, and it's going to feel even colder than that. Backing up, though, and taking a look at tomorrow, I mentioned that dry slot, and this will make for a challenging temperature forecast tomorrow afternoon. I think how warm you get greatly depends on where you live. Northwestern Trumbull might only be in the 50s most of the day. Southeastern Columbiana could touch 70 in a couple of spots. I wouldn't be surprised if Calcutta and Wellsville and down towards East Liverpool and even as far north as East Palestine, a lot of places could make a run at 70 down there with some peaks of sun tomorrow afternoon in that dry slot. So there could be a 15-degree spread from northwest to southeast across our viewing area for tomorrow. Rainfall totals through Friday, shown on the modeling pretty consistently over the last couple of days, to be up around 2 inches. I think that's still a pretty good average. Now, it might be closer to 1.5 inches if this dry slot lasts even longer tomorrow. But still, at least 1 inch is almost guaranteed, and a lot of places might check in with 2 inches over the next 48 hours. Highest amounts actually look to be to our north and east. This is actually really good news. They don't want it all at one time, but it's really good news for areas that are tremendously hard hit with drought right now, and that's western New York. We had some dry weather earlier on this year here, but western New York, up towards the Finger Lakes, this southern tier of New York has been just parched since the spring, and some places up there could get 5-6 inches of rain. Now, that's too much at one time, but good news for them for their drought. Boy, Saturday, what a nasty day. Wind chills. I got a wind chill map here. Probably not much better than the mid-30s even in the afternoon on Saturday. All right, the weather pattern is going to slowly moderate next week. Now, I don't think we're going to see the kind of warmth we've had over the last few days. That will be reserved for the middle of the country. Here's the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Warmth most likely middle of the country. We'll just be kind of on the edge of this. So what that means for us next week in kind of that 6 to 10 day time frame, a lot of days pretty close to average. We might sneak in some 60s, particularly later in this period, towards days 9 and 10. So kind of heading towards next weekend. 70s, unlikely, but 60s next week certainly would be above average. So we'll have more details on the longer range as we get a little bit closer. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you tonight on 21 News at 11 after the third and final debate.